Welcome to Pharma Drama, the channel where we look at the science of healthcare and healthcare products. It's exam time, and that means you're revising hard for your exams, and you want to get the best score that you can. How are you going to do that? I've spent 20 years marking students' exam papers, and I see students make the same mistake over and over again, and that mistake is becoming ever more common. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what that mistake is and what you can do not to make it. The thing that most students do, which causes them to lose marks, is not read the exam question properly. I know, that's hardly earth-shattering news, and you're thinking to yourself, why am I watching this video? Because I knew that already. The answer is, I've got 20 years experience of marking students' answers, and so I'm going to tell you why I think students make this mistake, and more importantly, what I think you can do to avoid making it. So, let's start with the basics. Why do students make this mistake in the first place? I think it's coming from how students are revising. If you're like me, when you're revising, you're going to sit down with the lecture notes from each individual lecture, and you're going to make your own revision notes for each lecture. You're not really thinking about the topics, you're thinking on a lecture by lecture basis. And before we go any further, one thing I should say is that it's becoming increasingly common that students sit down to make joint revision notes. It's a whole different ball game to talk about the consequences of cutting and pasting from your revision notes when all of your classmates have got essentially the same revision notes. That's a topic for a different day. So if you've revised and you've made a set of lecture notes, or revision notes, sorry, for each lecture, what you're going to do is you're going to sit down in the exam, you're going to open the exam questions, read them, and in your mind, you're going to start saying to yourself, okay, question number 1 goes with that particular lecture, and question number 2 goes with that particular lecture. And then what you're going to do is, if it's an open book exam, you've got the lecture notes right there. That's extremely unhelpful. And if you are in a closed book exam, in your mind, you're going to go, okay, I remember the main bullet points for this particular lecture. Maybe you're going to write them out on the answer booklet. I've seen students do that. And then you're going to start answering your question essentially by copying out your revision notes. What that's doing is it's not really answering the question. It is simply copying your revision notes onto a piece of paper, and you're kind of hoping that somewhere in that mass of text you are actually answering the question. And in my experience, the way that a question has been set in an exam, it can't really be answered by directly cutting and pasting from your revision notes. If it's an open book exam, and let's face it, a lot of universities are moving to open book exams at the moment with the results of the pandemic and things like that, it's really dangerous to cut and paste your revision notes, because most external examiners don't actually allow us to set questions that can be answered simply by cutting and pasting information. The question requires you to look at something and either interpret or discuss or give an opinion on whatever the question is about. And I absolutely guarantee, pretty much guarantee, that your revision notes are not going to include your opinion about something. The revision notes tend to be really factual and are the basic framework of knowledge that you need in a particular area. The questions that get set, especially at university level, are much more subtle than that, and they're usually asking you to interpret something that's been put in front of you. So in a pharmacy world, let's say, Mr. Smith is in hospital and he's got this condition and he's been given this drug. This is the concentration that's available in the pharmacy. How much does Mr. Smith need? This is his body mass, something like that. It will involve a calculation. That calculation isn't going to be in your lecture notes, so you've got to do it from scratch. So that's a problem right there. We might give you the structure of a drug molecule, for instance, and say, look at this drug molecule and think to yourself, is it lipophilic or hydrophilic? You can't answer that from your lecture notes. You've got to look at that drug molecule, look at the functional groups and make a decision, a rational decision for yourself. Is it lipophilic? Is it not lipophilic, for instance? It's really difficult just to cut and paste your lecture notes onto a piece of paper. So, What are you going to do about it? I said the point about this video was both to highlight what I think the main problem is and also what you might do about it. And again, the answer is really simple and it's in your hands to do this. The answer is do not cut and paste from your revision notes. Simply start with a blank sheet of paper and a pen, or your fingers if it's a typed exam. Read the question. By all means, think to yourself, which letter does that go with? But then think to yourself, how am I going to construct an answer for this question? And then start writing from a blank sheet of paper. Don't cut and paste anything. Write everything from scratch. If you do that, one, I guarantee, almost guarantee, you will not be writing the same answer as someone else, and that is always a benefit. And two, by forcing yourself to write an answer from scratch, you are forcing yourself to answer the actual question that's in front of you. I cannot give you any better advice than simply to say, don't cut and paste any text in an exam, just write your answer from scratch. I know it sounds like really painful and uncomfortable, but trust me, in the long run, you're going to thank me for that piece of advice. Okay? Right, with that, go and revise. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, and I'll see you again soon.